want to bring in now AAP MP Raghav Chadha on this broadcast. Raghav, good evening. The reality is that the AAP Congress has right now lost the mayoral election in Chandigarh. And now with all of these claims of rigging, of conspiracy, is this just a case of sour grapes?
Look, first of all, there are total 36 votes that were to be cast in today's mayor elections. Out of 36, 20 were with the India Alliance, roughly 13 with AAP and 7 with Congress. 13 plus 7 is 20. That is, out of 36, 20 votes were fairly and squarely with the India Alliance. And the BJP had roughly 15 votes. Plus, if you were to add the Akali Dal's vote, then they have 16 votes. So out of 36, 16 was with the BJP and 20 was with the India Alliance. Therefore, everyone knew that the outcome of this has to be a victory for the India Alliance. However, what the BJP did, surprisingly, is first, they appointed their own office bearer of the BJP's minority wing as the presiding officer of the election, who is to oversee and conduct the election. Number two, on the 18th of Jan, when the election was scheduled, the election officer calls in sick and doesn't show up, so that the election gets deferred. We go to the High Court, we get a fresh date of election, and today, which was the fresh date of election, the presiding officer committed an act of treason. It is not forgery, it is not merely illegality or unconstitutionality. It was an act of treason. This man violated every rule in the book, and with his own pen marked ink on the AAP votes and declared them invalid, which is caught on camera. For the first time, 8 votes out of 36 have been declared invalid. Not a single vote of the BJP has been declared invalid, but out of 20 votes of the India Alliance, 8 votes have been declared invalid, and therefore the BJP has been declared the winner. And most surprisingly, for the first time, there was no election agent who was being permitted from any party to come close to the presiding officer to see the process of counting. Now, usually what happens is that I have a dummy ballot paper with me. Now, this dummy ballot paper or this ballot paper, the presiding officer shows this to election agents of all parties and then keeps them in the respective box. Like, for example, if somebody marks a vote for the BJP, he will show this dummy ballot paper to all election agents of all parties and will place it in the bucket of the BJP, and similarly for the India Alliance. In the event that there is some additional mark on the ballot paper, or both these options, the BJP and the India Alliance, are marked, this vote is then shown to all election agents. They are taken into confidence, and then this vote is declared invalid. This is the process. This time, no election agent was permitted to come close to the presiding officer. No votes were ever shown to the election agents. No votes were ever shown to the election agents before terming them invalid. And lastly, when the election concluded, we went to the presiding officer to check the vote. He ran away. He literally ran away with the entire ballot paper of 36 people and rushed out of the venue.
You know, Raghav, on that point, the newly elected BJP mayor has said that it was the AAP and Congress workers who actually tore up these ballot papers and created all of that ruckus.
Well, quite frankly, everything is caught on camera because the Honorable High Court directed a videography of the entire event. You can see this completely, and it will be absolutely clear to you what the BJP has done. In fact, the presiding officer himself, Akshita, is caught in the video putting an additional mark of ink on the Aam Aadmi Party's and the Congress's votes. He himself is caught on camera putting an ink on the ballot paper so that the ballot paper later on can be declared invalid. And why was the ballot paper not shown to these election agents? Why did he run away with it after the election? So all these point towards only one thing, that the BJP felt and knew that they're going to lose this election. In order to prevent a defeat, they have rigged the whole process. They have committed the highest form of illegality and unconstitutionality, and it is an attack on India's democracy. I term it, and I have no hesitation in saying this, this is an act of treason. This is Deshdroh, what BJP has done.
So in light of what's happened and these 8 votes, Raghav, that have been declared invalid, do you think that if that didn't happen, the result would be very, very different in the mayoral election?
Oh, absolutely. Imagine out of 36, 20 votes are with the India Alliance. Out of those 20, that is the majority is with the India Alliance. Out of those 28 votes are declared invalid. If those votes were not declared invalid, as they have wrongfully and illegally been declared invalid, they would have fallen in the India Alliance vote kitty. That means we would have had 20 votes out of 36, which means that we have the majority. The majority figure was 18, 19. We had 20 votes. We had one more than the majority mark. So therefore, it's very clear that it has been strategically done to ensure that Aam Aadmi Party and Congress doesn't mean, please spare a thought. Forget this small election of Chandigarh for 1 minute. Spare a thought that if the BJP can go to this level, stoop to this low level to rig an election process in an inconsequential, insignificant Chandigarh mayor election, imagine how much they can rig the election machinery for the Lok Sabha 2024 elections. My appeal to all your viewers is, in the upcoming Lok Sabha elections, don't vote to make a candidate win or to defeat a candidate. Vote to save India's democracy. Because if BJP wins the 2024 Lok Sabha elections, it would perhaps be the last election and India will become a China or a Russia or a North Korea like democracy.
That's a comment Mr. Kharge also has made. But obviously the election process itself, Raghav, is very different. Here, it was, as you pointed out, a mayoral election that you're comparing to a general election, ballot paper versus EVM. So, can you really talk about rigging on a larger scale in the general election, as you're saying?
Well, of course, but in ballots, at least what illegality is being done can be caught easily because he has to manually do it. I shudder to think what kind of gerrymandering can be done with the integrity of the the whole election process, which is conducted by VVPATs and EVMs. So I think it is a dangerous sign for India's democracy what's happening. And if the BJP can stoop to this level for a mayor election, I shudder to think what all riggings and illegalities these people are going to commit in the upcoming Lok Sabha 2024.
No, so now, what's the next step, Raghav? You've moved the courts, and what's your demand now? I know that you've said that there should be action against the presiding officer, but are you now demanding a fresh election?
Look, we have of course moved the court and the matter is likely to come up tomorrow. We have the following demands. First of all, today's illegal and unconstitutional election needs to be set aside. Number two, a fresh election needs to be conducted, which should be free and fair. Number three, instead of this presiding officer who was nominated by the BJP and who is BJP's own office bearer needs to be removed, and a retired judge chosen by the Honorable High Court needs to be deputed as the presiding officer to oversee the election. And number four, Mr. Anil Masih, who was today's presiding officer, needs to be booked and perhaps even arrested for charges of forgery, illegality, unconstitutionality, and for committing an act of treason.
My final question to you, Raghav, is keeping aside all of these allegations of rigging and conspiracy that you've leveled, if you look at the result itself, it's bad news for the India bloc. You made comments saying that this is essentially the first step where the India alliance is coming together. We're going to see the result of that. This is laying the foundation stone for the upcoming general elections. And you've lost. The AAP and Congress, reality is right now, has lost this election.
So this does two things. First, this India alliance, which was the first match that AAP and Congress played as one unit, as alliance partners under the banner of India Alliance, has brought these two parties together. I think there was great working relationship that all of us enjoyed, and I personally enjoyed, with Mr. Pawan Bansal in Chandigarh. So that's a positive. The negative is that this election is not a setback for the alliance or for AAP or for Congress. I think this election is a setback for India's democracy. I think this is the larger message, that if the largest party, the ruling party of this country that controls all resources, that has unlimited amount of power and unmeasurable amount of money, can stoop to these levels to rig a small election because they don't want to suffer a defeat at the hands of India Alliance, imagine what all wrongdoings these guys can commit. I think it is a setback for democracy, not just for any alliance or any political organization.
All right, Raghav Chadha, thank you very much for joining us here on India Today. Like we mentioned, you've moved the court, so we'll see what plays out tomorrow, whether you get any sort of legal relief. But thank you very much for joining us here on India Today.